well.
Okay, there you go. That is what the standings do look like in the Uganda Premier League at the moment. AC Villa currently on top. The bigger question is, can they go on and win another championship? There's Ndumparaka in there, Maroons, Bull, Vipers, and then Mbara, who actually almost picked a point against Vipers from the weekend, are currently number 10 with 5 points from the games they have played so far. All right, there you go. That is the big story in the Uganda Premier League at the moment. Meanwhile, here in studio, we've made another tactical change. We've dropped two players who we think were being a little bit inconsistent in their performances. Mr. Robert Madoy and Max Ali will have to have bigger training sessions if they are joined the first 11 again. And trust me, we brought in two folks who we've been waiting for throughout the day. Just right next to me is the FUFA legal manager, Mr. Dennis Lukambi. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure having you here.
Me too. It's a pleasure.
And I know we have big hot topics tonight. Tonight we shall be talking sections and subsections. It's low talk on the show tonight. So a pleasure having you. And then of course we have the CEO from Proline, Mr. William Bakabulindi. Good evening and welcome to the show as well.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you don't come here in probably the best times when it comes to the league, but I'm thinking you're a happier man when it comes to Confederations Cup football, traveling away to Kigali and picking a result that most of the Proline fans are actually happy with. The kind of campaign you so far have had on the continent, how excited are you?
Well, it's a maiden continental engagement, and that we have reached on this stage in itself is a very good thing. We are definitely excited. We are looking forward to the game. We are looking forward to the second leg with AS Kigali. Hopefully we shall go on to progress to the next level. We are definitely relishing this whole, every minute of it.
You know, it's interesting. I mean, I was going to talk about your battles at the moment with FUFA, but I will first ask you how excited you are with FUFA when they stepped in and said we are going to help the two Ugandan clubs that are on the continent with some transport here and there. How big of a burden is that off your head as a CEO?
Oh, it was fantastic. Maybe if I could just correct you, we're actually not battling FUFA at all.
Yeah.
As Proline, we do not have any problem with FUFA. We don't have any problem with anyone at FUFA.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just maybe a difference in opinion with the UPL and difference in interpreting the laws and so on and so forth. But we don't have any problem with FUFA.
Okay.
That should be that should be put out there. But we are very happy with when FUFA stepped in. It was such a huge thing of our backs, and we managed to have flawless plans basically.
Yeah.
Because these continental games are really expensive. I wouldn't mind some more support
money
from FUFA.
We need some more support from the federation. All right, guys, we have an interesting debate, to be honest. But let me ask Mwangusha to kick this off. What do we know at the moment between Proline and the federation? What are the facts on table? And maybe we should refresh the minds of the viewers out there. What happened that gets us to this situation?
All right. So we had Uganda travel to play Kenya the other weekend, and those were FIFA designated days. And of course, Proline were scheduled to play AC Villa. Vipers also had a game and KCA, but their games were called off because they had 3 players according to Article 19 of the FUFA rules on competitions. And Proline, according to the CEO here, one of their players, Mustafa Mjuzi, was called well in time, I think on a Monday. And late in the week, they got to learn about Thursday from the media that Britain Nukan was also called late because it was a late inclusion. And then they got the communication officially from FUFA on a Friday. And Proline were okay with playing without Mustafa Mjuzi. But then when Bright also, happened that he would be on the plane to Kenya, they said, no, I mean, we are running thin on our squad, and these are our 2 important players. We can't play without all of them and face Villa. So they wrote to UPL after receiving communication from UPL on Thursday that some fixtures of clubs with players, 3 players and above, had been called off. They also wrote to Proline saying, hey, our 2 important players are not in. Can you kindly, defer the game? And Proline responded, quoting UPL responded, telling them, quoting, I think, the FUFA rule of 3 players and above. So Proline kept insisting with UPL, writing to them and UPL responding. Actually, there were two letters, one from Proline, I think after they wrote to UPL, then we waited for UPL to respond. There was nothing more. So Saturday morning, Proline communicate that actually we are not honoring the game. So somewhere mid-morning, Proline also, UPL communicate that the fixtures are on as scheduled. So we knew Proline were not going to be at Lugogo as the host, but I think Villa reached the moment and they were there on time with the officials. So the game didn't happen. So we waited, and of course, normally for feature you lose the points, and the team that appeared takes the points. So in short, Proline had a case, but UPL were quoting the FUFA rule that says 3 players and above. Now Proline were using the FIFA rule that says on international designated days, FIFA days, national team takes precedence over a national championship.
Okay.
So they are saying we followed the FIFA rule by allowing the players to go. So why force us to play? Now FIFA is saying 3 players and above. So that's where the controversy came, and of course the ruling came through midweek from the FUFA competitions disciplinary panel, docking Proline 6 points because as hosts they are docked 6 points when they don't appear, and fining them 5 million Uganda shillings, which should be payable by 18th. You have 3 days to pay up.
Okay.
Bakabulindi. But on Friday, Proline did appeal the decision, and we are awaiting now. That's where the stage we're at.
Okay, we have the FUFA legal manager, Mr. Dennis Lukambi. I don't know. I think let's start this from the top, my friend. Why are you punishing Proline this much? And I said this much because they are forfeiting again, losing those points. You're docking them 6 points. They haven't accumulated those yet. You're docking them 6 goals, and you're fining them 5 million shillings. What is it they didn't do right that they deserve this kind of punishment?
But I would want to first correct that in FUFA, as William mentioned, we are also proud of Proline as a football club.
Yes.
We are using it as a model, teaching other clubs about how a club, even from big league, can make it to the continent. It's one of the clubs that use young players, so we use it, and we are really so much proud about the club. But when it comes to enforcing regulations, there is no big club, there is no small club. Regulations are very clear. We are put there almost several years ago. And one good reason I was discussing with my colleague, he was part of the committee that implemented that regulation. Himself, William, was part of it, because we get representatives from all corners, coaches, clubs, administrators, and then some representative players. So the regulation has been there for quite some time. Now, what exactly happened was, in football, one of the tenets of football is the game has to be played. The day you don't play the game, it means there is no business. So anything that touches playing football in FUFA and in terms of regulations, not even the General Assembly can compromise any matter there. So what we are doing is we are enforcing the regulation that has been in place for quite some time. But the crux of the point was, when Proline did not honor the game, we gave them, there's what called the 48 hours rule. We waited and asked them. When we received the referee's report that Proline did not play the game, we wrote to them that, look, the fixture mentioned the date, you didn't honor the game. Can you tell us what happened? Because we received so many, normally several clubs fail to turn up for the game, but their justification, loss of somebody, maybe, and so many other reasons that normally happen. Now, the reply of Proline, where the committee found there has no justification, they restricted so much on interpreting the FIFA regulations. The crux of their argument was, when their FIFA calendar designated dates, National League should not be played. And said, no, this is wrong, it's not right. The circular you're quoting was, let me say, was cancelled in 2014, in 2004. FIFA cancelled it. The position now, whether you are playing a National League and there is an international game, once you lose less than 3 players, these 2 players and below, you have to continue. I even gave them one example that when we were playing AFCON in 2017, England was playing their league because, whereas they lost some players, the magnitude was not that much as far as we are concerned.
And Africa Cup of Nations is on the FIFA calendar as a designated date. But that doesn't stop other countries which are not affected to continue and play their league. So we told them this is not a justification. For us, the day you refuse to play the game, the regulation has to be effected. 6 points and
6 goals.
6 goals. It's very clear. The reason why we do that is not that we are punishing the club, but once you leave it to happen like that, you'll find in the future some clubs will refuse to honor games because they can calculate and say from Paida to come, I'm going to play Proline, I'm going to play Vipers, I can lose the game. So we don't compromise as far as playing the game is concerned.
Okay.
Giving points on boardroom is one of the worst case scenarios that we face in football. And why normally the host club is given that, this is the host club, that they have no reason why they can't honor the game. But if it's there, they can write. I've told you there are clubs where a match was fixed, but if there's no justifications about the rules which was cancelled, we said no, there's no reason why you didn't honor the game.
Okay.
And they are not arguing about the two-rule prayer, that once you have two-rule prayers and below, they are not, that's not their problem. They are saying FIFA calendar overtakes your league, and we say that's not the position.
Okay,
that's where we are now.
Mr. Lukambi, I'm going to come to you very shortly. Let me go to Mr. Bakabulindi now. I mean, he says you are part of the committee that was working on these rules. So you should be the first person to know what the regulations are and what the law says. Now, I want to understand something. At what point does Proline say we're not going to play this game?
There's a little background to this, like Andrew tried to mention. We requested the UPL that, look, this boy has been taken at about 7, you know. So even when we are in the local rules here, the regulator themselves, who came for the player, they did not honor that rule, because remember the same rule says that players to be summoned to the national team, if the game is away, they have to be summoned 3 days before departure date. He will tell you if I'm wrong or I'm right. So by coming for the player literally hours to departure, they're sabotaging their own rule. You understand, eh? Or our own rule. I won't say their own rule because it's a rule for football. So that's why I don't really want to go into the local rule. It's not something that is really upheld everywhere. But we believe, Dennis has just said that this circular was done away with. But I've been asking, where is the new rule? Where is the new rule that says that National League games can go on at the same time as international set FIFA dates? Then what's the point of setting international FIFA dates? Even when you go and look for the rule on international FIFA dates, this is the rule that comes up. Now, if it was done away with, why is it still coming up? And then the other thing is, it's not as if Uganda is different from all other countries. Yeah, other countries have stopped their leagues. Which rule are they basing on to stop their leagues as the international set date is on? Which rule are they? I mean, are they getting a rule from up in the air and enforcing it?
Yeah.
Of course, it's there that these leagues have to stop. I've sent it to them. Of course, they say the circular, that particular circular might have been discontinued. I'm not sure, but the rule is there. And I keep asking them. If you look at the FIFA statutes 70, it tells you that these dates are binding to the federations, to the leagues. They are binding dates, and they are set beforehand so that we can know them. And it's not a new thing, by the way. We have observed them in Uganda before. So I don't know if Dennis is saying that we observed them erroneously, or I don't know, is it something that we can talk about? Should we do it this year? Should we not do it next year? I don't know. And if it is something we can talk about, if Proline talks about it, why shouldn't it be listened to? You understand, eh? And then the other 3-player rule, now it's 3 players. When we did the rules with him, we insisted on 1 player, because we know how hard it is to go into a match missing 2 players. You know, FUFA doesn't come for any player. They come for your best. And not FUFA only, all federations in the world. They come for your best. Now they have taken 2 of your best players, literally, and you have to go and face somebody who has lost no player to the national team.
Yeah.
Of course, that rule itself is not fair. I mean, if we are facing relegation and we needed the points, and then there's a national team game going on somewhere, already that rule is unfair already. But we are saying, okay, fine. All that notwithstanding, because even right now Chan is going on, 5 of our players are in the national teams, and we're saying, okay, that is okay, because here you allow your players to go, or you can refuse, because it's not an international date. But during international dates, you can't say nothing. The players are under the jurisdiction of the national team.
I mean, you've had his explanation, but before we go on with the Proline issue, I think let me help ask something. I'm sure some viewers out there asking. Why is it that you have all these international leagues cancelled when FIFA designates dates?
No, it's not a matter of fact. So many countries play their leagues. You go to Scotland, you go to Wales, you go to Portugal. They continued.
So it's just a decision,
But
for example.
normally we are covered by the big 5, Spain, England. Those clubs need to know the cream of Liverpool. Every country normally they almost 3/4 of players disappear. So they make them hard to play the game. You come here to Uganda, Malawi, Egypt was playing their cup. You understand? I saw even this player of ours, Lumala, tweeting about the same date, the FIFA. So some countries played, some did not play.
So from what Mwangusha says, it seems did the communication come in on time? Is that what you're trying to say? The communication came in late for the player? Because it seems to suggest that Proline was shocked.
The rule says that if it's an away game, it should be 3 days before departure. Now, the media got to know. I'm talking the media. Of course, FUFA doesn't communicate to the media
Actually, that's
officially.
a competitive game. The circular is sure if it's a friendly game, it should be 2 days before departure, no?
But it's before departure.
Yeah.
Now, according to Proline, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what they told me. They received communication on Friday evening. The team traveled on Friday morning.
What he's trying to mention, it's true that if you are going to take a player from a club, you need a minimum of 48 hours to ask if it is a friendly, not a tournament like AFCON. So if there was an error that the player was asked late, it could have been the communication. But that time, Proline has a right if you ask the player not within a prescribed time. So it's a matter of consent with the club to release. But if you ask for the player as a federation in time, the club is obligated to release the player. In fact, the other regulation is to confirm that even the league has to continue. It says that if the club refuses to release that player if requested, that player will not be allowed to play for that club at that particular time. Even the federation can extend 5 days. Because what happens, FIFA is trying to protect the federations to get players. There are so many instances where clubs refuse to release players. FIFA even made it worse that if that player gets an injury, it's the club to ensure, the club must ensure that player, to ensure that the player gets back on the pitch. But what I wanted to correct, for example, at Olympic Games, Olympic Games are not in the FIFA calendar. But of recent, FIFA came and mentioned, no, there's what we call a customary law. It is out of nature. Players have to go and represent their countries in the Olympic Games. So, and some players, we wanted to go by force. They say, no, I have to go and play for my country. But it's not in the FIFA calendar. So what happened was FIFA allowed them to go, but then competitions continue. Because if you look at the congestion of FIFA calendar, if you continue and say that games will not be played when there is a friendly game, then you'll find that almost 80% of the games, because almost every month, every continent has a tournament. We have CHAN, we have Under Games, we have Sekafa, we have AFCON. So realize the calendar is too congested, you will never get players if you don't determine that.
Mr. Bakabulindi, I think before we go on, let's first let me get some first-hand information from you about what Mwangusha said. The communication between you and the federation. How happy were you with the communication from the federation? Was it on time? Was it late as well? In case there was a mistake in there, is Proline's reaction fully based on the fact that you're taking crucial players from us, or is it based on the fact that you're communicating late?
Again, let me correct you there. We are not communicating to FUFA.
Okay.
On this, we are communicating to UPL.
Or to UPL?
Yeah.
But it is FUFA that is coming down on you guys.
Yeah, of course they are the custodians of the rules. We communicated to UPL that look, this player has been taken very late. And it's an international week. We are mandated to give him this player. You know, is it possible? Can you please postpone our game? And they never replied to us. You know, we called instantly on Friday at about 5. That's when we got an email that, guys, the game has to go on. So we told them, no, the game cannot go on. We've told you this. We've quoted for you the rule that we base on, that it is not mandatory for the championship games to go on during the FIFA international set games, set dates. Yeah, and what Dennis is saying is right. International games go on all the time, and we are saying that during that time when it's not international set dates,
yes,
it's fine. They go on and the leagues go on. That happens everywhere. But during those set dates, the national championship games and cup games should not go on. But having said that, if the clubs agree, yeah, with the federation and the league secretariat or whatever, they can play like we are going to play. Yeah, it's international set date, but there is these games that you have to play. You can play them, especially if the national team has not taken your players. But trust me, even the Egyptian Cup or whatever you're talking about, Egypt was not playing a game. You understand? Eh? And also the other leagues that go on, they are mostly, if you look, I mean, this information is right there on everybody's fingertips. The leagues that go on are those that do not have so many players in national teams. It is okay, they can go on. But the thing is, the international games the national championship games are not mandatory at that point.
Monksha, please step in and give a comment, because I have a big question for him as well.
I wanted to ask Dennis. Dennis, why is it that when there is no Bournemouth and Burnley play, and Bournemouth and Burnley on the fixture, that weekend there is England playing, Bournemouth and Burnley don't play? I think it's because they agreed that when the national team is in action, all the other things come to a halt. I think why FUFA brought this is because they realized some clubs do not have players on the national team and they can as well play. But then that comes down to goodwill between the federation, UPL, and the clubs involved. Isn't that so?
Yeah, the goodwill is, as I mentioned at the beginning, this regulation of 2 players is not basically...
Is it 2 or 3?
When you have 2 and
3
below, if you have 3 and above, like KCC, Vipers, then in fact you are free not to play. And normally there's a time KCC lost like 4, they insisted we shall play. Mutebi said we shall play, we can handle. But why I was mentioning why William was on the committee was the clubs agreed. Said, FUFA, you guys, you overrest the league. Our players go down in terms of fitness, we lose a lot of opportunities. Like stopping the league for almost a month doesn't make sense. If a club loses 2 players, 3 players and above, the club is free not to play the game. But 2 players, let us make it mandatory. The games have to be honored. For example, we are going in Chan. After Chan, we are going for qualifiers. You find the league is going to stay for almost another month. And that affects the fitness, that affects the planning, it affects everything. That's why I was saying that Baka was in that committee. He was proposing 1 player, the majority said 2 players. So the decision of 2 players was passed. We added the club, they were registering 21 players. We added them 28 players. They even have a right to pick from the juniors league. So they have a pool of around 32 players. So one of the reasons was 2 players can go on injury, anything can happen, a club cannot stop. We even had a rule that if you have 7 players, you can even continue and play the game, because we realize not at all times.
But Mr. Lukambi, here's an interesting one, because Baka talks about, you talk about that rule being, is it rested or no longer used by FIFA? The one in the circular here. Yeah,
the circular they quoted, that circular was like repealed.
Yes, yes. And his question was, so what is the new rule? So we have no new rule in this situation now?
No, Baka is making a mistake. He's telling us that, can you show me another rule which says that I shall not play? We are telling him, FUFA said clubs are obliged to deliver players. But at the same time, they did not stop the leagues to continue. The rule I was quoting to him clearly said, the statute of 2001, where the FIFA had banned national champion to continue, was banned. It is even blue and black, red and blue, that leagues circular number 971 of 2002 is hereby cancelled. So now this means that federations are free to regulate their own affairs. When we came to regulate our own affairs, we said 2 players. If a club does not lose 2 players, 3 players and above, they have to honor. Let our league continue as well as other clubs go away to play the league. He's saying no. Even if I lose 1 player, or even if I don't lose a player, FIFA allows me not to play the game. So that's where the issue now.
You know what?
We disagreed with him. The punishment was, of course, the committee that is responsible issued the punishment. Is on appeal, and we are waiting for what the appeal is going to
I want
say.
us to come to that very shortly, because I also want to know what Proline's next course of action could be, because FUFA is coming down strong, the OUPL is coming down strong, and they're saying we must do things this way. I'll also bring you in, Mwangusha. But I want to know what you think at home. You can send us those reactions now. The hashtag is NTV PRESSBOX. That is the hashtag on Twitter. We have Joel Kamadi standing by to read a few comments and probably pick Mark Sally's mind before we come back to the main set.
Fantastic. It's explosive, I tell you. I'm here with Mark, and I'll be coming back to him in a short while. But I'll tell you the reason why I love this kind of debate is that it generates so much reaction on social media. People are passionate about local football. I'll start with Asiano Arnold, who says, harsh, repugnant to the rules of fairness and fair play, and uncalled for. Emmanuel Waga says, I think it was harsh. 1, they had justification for not playing those games. Bright and Mujuzi are very vital for their play. 2, even if they were at fault, 6 points is a little too much with the money if police only lost points. Bad, horrible decision. Nadiope says, very harsh, uncalled for. It is showing favorism among teams because KCC and Vipers didn't play, so the same privilege given to them. Proline also deserved because 2 of their players who were on national duty. Shame on FUFA on this one. Their words, not ours, on the press box. Mukisa Emmanuel says, it's obvious, a harsh decision, but good in a way that it will act as an example onwards for any club that doesn't comply. Pison Nagaba says, if that's what's stated in the law, then Proline deserve to pay the price for breaking it. Other teams will learn a lesson from this going forward. The law allows a club to miss a game if at least 3 of its players are on national duty and not 2 like was the case for Proline AC. I want to bring in Mark here for a bit because from what I heard from Bakabulindi saying, you know, he has no problem with the league going on during international breaks. He has a problem when it affects the team when 2 or 3 of your star players are taken up for national duty.
No, it's well, I think he actually said that the designated international breaks should be that across the board, and people should not play, if I heard him correctly. Well, one of the things, personally for me, as far as international breaks and football here going on is concerned, I think that there should be a conversation that I don't think has been had.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from Bakabulindi, who is a CEO. I'm a bit involved in football, but I'm not at that level, so I don't go, say, to the UPL meetings and all. If they actually, before rules are passed, if certain conversations are had and how deep they are, because personally for me, the law is supposed to be something, a guideline. It's not supposed to be something for which people, just to catch people and people. And so I'd like to hear the conversations that they have, 1. And 2, even from the legal officer at FUFA, do we have new rules for 2018-19, for example? Have they been signed? The consistency with which we then met them out is an important issue. If you say that Proline have been docked points and then also money, and police have been docked points and not money, what's the rationale? How was that used? If you're FUFA and you're going to implement a rule for somebody not turning up for, say, to honoring fixtures like police and Proline, 1, have you ensured that all the other rules are being adhered to? Because then he has to tell us what happened with all the non-registration of players on kick-off day. I understand that many of the clubs actually, the players were not registered, but the fixtures went on. Are we implementing certain rules and not others? And that kind of thing. I need to understand the consistency with which rules are meted out, and also the spirit in which they are.
Okay, we're coming back to you in a bit.
Conversations are had before,
they'll come back to us. I think they've heard it. They're going to comment on it, and I'd just like to throw this to you, Andrew, as one last comment, because NASA here says disciplining is good, but if 6 goals and 6 points are docked, then that is enough. They should not pay 5 million again.
Thank you very much. Some folks are talking about how serious the punishment is. Before we come to what Mark was saying, because he says you probably bring in some rules and sometimes you don't use some rules, seems a little bit segregative. Some folks on Twitter think there's a big political battle between FUFA and Mr. Mujib Kasule because of what we've seen before, so maybe this is a political punishment as well. But I have an interesting reaction here from a journalist called Ruben, who says, are they going to punish Mbarara for not releasing Muchurezi because he was summoned late? I don't know if that is what Mark is talking about. Do you apply the rules sometimes and don't apply the rules some other times? Or is Mark just being a journalist?
No, Mark is a senior journalist, but what exactly happened? You couldn't give a specific answer on when we implement and on when we don't. For example, you mentioned a very critical point about the player licenses. The regulation is before a player appears in a game, he must have a license. But sometimes we recognize what we call maybe technical problems. And then we give players what we call professional, we call them temporary licenses. Before we print the final licenses such that they can play, we need to ensure that the games are played. Now, applying the rules selectively, that's not true. Police, the regulation was clear. If you are a visiting team, that's where the difference is. Because a visiting team sometimes has some procedures they go through. If you're a visiting team, 3 points and 3 goals, and then you lose that game. But why we were so harsh, maybe the regulation is harsh on a host team like Proline.
I think you said it. Why we were so harsh on Proline. Continue.
Yeah, because there was an element of putting the game into disrepute. Because you knew the fixture, you prepared, you allowed visitors to come into your home, and you don't turn up for the game. It's like a wedding where you call visitors and you don't. So that embarrassment, people go through, they come, there's no game. And then if you look critical on how FIFA advises on such elements, they even push it to match fixing because people came to expect results, not boardroom results. And there's no game. Automatically Villa took the points and that kills the game. It's not good. It has to be find a way of resolve as far as in the strongest terms possible.
I want to, you actually brought the point towards where I was driving. Match fixing. Last season, last season, Vipers appeared for a game against Bull in Ginger. 3 of the players had not carried their licenses. And that's where we have to question the competence of the committee that does this. Because I understand from the team that was involved in the match fixing, they actually gave a vote of no confidence to that team because of selective, application of justice. So Vipers appeared for the game. 3 players didn't have licenses. Now, according to your rules, FUFA rules, the licenses must be provided ahead of the game. Now, if they are not provided, then they must report to police 3 hours before kickoff, isn't it? So Vipers, after being told of that rule, actually reported 30 minutes to kickoff. Vipers were never punished. So when we talk of selective, application of justice, why are some teams punished and others not punished?
First of all, Andrew, you're making a mistake of comparing players playing without a license and the failure to turn up for the game. In fact, I'm not saying that this was match fixing, but failure to turn up for a game, the results are predetermined, basically. That now we knew before 10 minutes, Proline is not up, Villa will take the goal. So the day you start making fans aware of what's going to happen, then you are killing the beauty of the game. That's why we fight it. The reason why games keep on accumulating fans because of the unpredictability of results. The game have to be played. So that rule was applied. When the referee's report, because normally, for example, this matter, we rely on referee's report. The league, UPL manages the league. But when it comes to disciplinary and refereeing, it's us that the federation has to manage that. And that is a directive from FIFA. Disciplinary, refereeing, those are a reserve of the federation. You don't leave it to UPL, wherever you go.
I don't think...
Vipers, just a second, I want to bring in...
Vipers, on that rule, in fact, it's not...
Because they played with the players in question.
But
and the club wasn't sanctioned.
Guys,
but when you look at the report to the police, it's not true that they never reported.
Because they reported, the truth of the matter is, we might have this argument go on for long, but it's quite different from the one.
No, we are looking at application of the law and rule. And we are telling you a case in which Vipers could have been docked points, but they
nothing
were
happened.
never.
Let me first come back to the CEO from Proline, Mr. Bakabulindi. So here we are. It's a very big battle now going on with UPL and the Federation. And they are insisting, by his what he's saying, you're still going to be docked 6 points. Of course, you forfeited the game. You're going to be docked 6 goals as well and 5 million shillings. So let's start there. Before we talk about Proline's next course of action. How harsh is that for a team that has just been promoted from the big league? And I know rules are rules. That's what you're going to say. Team has been promoted from the big league. Try and find your standing in the league, competitive side, starting to stay in there. Now you have to be docked 6 points and 6 points and then 5 million shillings. How harsh is that, Proline, you think?
Of course, it is. It's very harsh, and in our opinion, it should never have happened, because we are doing things retrospectively. We asked, we gave in our standing, and we gave in our reasons. Okay, fine. If, like he says, we were really in the wrong, they should have just called us and told us and quoted the rule he's trying to quote, which is not there. They should have just, because that's what we're looking for. You understand? Eh? We know our rule. We know the rule. We have read it. Wherever you go to the FIFA forums, that is the rule that comes up. Okay, as the custodian of the law, shouldn't you say, guys, what you're doing is wrong. What you're quoting is wrong. This is the new rule, so you should play.
Yeah.
You see, that is mitigating something before it actually happens. If indeed what the Federation is interested in is playing the game, I insist they should have gone to great lengths to talk to us and tell us exactly what it is they want to, what we are quoting right now to punish us. They should have quoted it before, because we had about 44 hours from when we wrote, to the time that the game took place. And it's very good he's talking about match fixing. I mean, if you take a team that is definitely weakened by the national team to go and face a full strength side, isn't that a bit predetermining results? And the other thing is also this: 28 players, 32 players. I mean, come on, we all know that players in the squad, some players will play every game and other players will play 2 games. Why? Because some players are key and others are squad players. So if you take key players from a team, there's a bit of unfairness there. Not even a bit. There's a very gross unfairness right there, which we are highlighting here. That, guys, and by the way, in that period, I still insist, unless they show us a rule or a regulation that says during international break leagues can go on. Proline, we are very humble. If they show it to us tonight, tomorrow morning at 8, they will have a letter apologizing to the nation and accepting all punishment. But it is not there.
Here's my interesting thing, Mr. Lukambi. And I don't know, is it a legal maneuver, what you're just saying? Because FIFA took the rules out and left the whole international break and designation of international break and national leagues to every federation to decide how they feel it should be done? Or are you just making sure we can go around this legal thing and get it done?
Let me make myself clear. In 2000, FIFA passed a circular, and it was very clear that if there is a designated international games, friendly or otherwise, FIFA, National League, yes, and Club Championship will be suspended. That was the circular that was passed in 2000. In 2004, after Greece, Olympic Games in Greece, there was a lot of challenges. Those games were not designated, and players forced themselves to go and play. You know how a player is there to go and represent their countries.
Absolutely.
So, in fact, they left with force. They had to go and play the game, represent their countries in the Olympics. Olympics ended in August 2004. In 2000, the same year, December, FIFA passed a regulation called the legislation of the legislation on status and transfer of players, Article 20. Saying the circular that we passed, I'm trying to quote them verbatim, the circular that was passed in 2000, that was running up 2004, is hereby repealed. The new regulation now obliges clubs to release players to national teams. they remove the element of stopping the national leagues. That's where we are with William. That the leagues have to continue so long as the clubs and other elements are not affected. So there's what to call obligated release and then mandatory release. If the games are not on the designated calendar, clubs are free to release or not to release. But if they're designated, clubs have to release the mandatory element. Why they are doing this? They want to protect the federation because the federation have no players. They rely from the clubs. But they are saying if you can, a club can go and participate, a player can go and participate in the international game, and the league can continue. Basically, you are free to continue. That's why I was telling you, in AFCON 2017, when Gabon playing with the Mohamed Salah, the Salahs, and England was also playing their league.
The Premier League.
But AFCON is also in the
I want
calendar
us to come
of
back
FIFA.
very shortly to that. I want us to take a quick break. We'll come back shortly to that, and after the break, I'll pretty much ask Mr. Bakabulindi, what is your next course of action now? Because the custodian of the game in the country is saying you must pay the punishment. I'll also ask you if there is a good spirit in this law, because like Baka says, I've seen teams that actually depend on one player, one single player. He's the most key player. We can go international, we can go local, for examples. If that one player is not around, the team is not exactly the same. And he's saying you've already taken a player, now you're taking another one. So why should we play against an AC Villa side which seems to be full strength? I want us to discuss that, the spirit of the law, because sometimes some of these laws are subjective and probably not in the best law. I also ask Mangusha the way forward. He absolutely has no legal background, but you'll have a view or two about that big issue.
I'm like the boss of the FUFA competitions disciplinary panel. We all don't have legal background.
Oh, we shall discuss that as well. Yeah, because there's a debate going on. Have you heard about it? That the competitions team at FUFA has no lawyer in it. So I don't know how they are looking at the constitution and interpreting if there's no one in there who interprets the law, I don't know how that is happening.
And Dennis is there to interpret the laws.
We have a legal committee full of lawyers.
But not on the competitions team.
No, normally the role of that, we call it the competitions disciplinary panel. It is an administrator, a former player, and a former referee. So they guide. Their role is they handle matters which don't have, for example, what we call, they don't require so much legal advice or so much legal complications. You didn't play the game. No, listen. They receive a police report. You didn't play the game. We write to Proline. Please, your justification. Nothing. They implement the regulation. Nothing. They don't
need to know much about
They
the law.
don't analyze evidence.
We shall come back.
They do about the regulations.
We shall come back and discuss that. We are live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. It's the press box. We have so much reaction on Twitter. When we come back, they conclude, and also we get some more reaction online.
The Ministry of Health has planned a national measles, rubella and polio immunization campaign for all children under 15 years of age on 16th to 20th October 2019, starting 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health with support from World Health Organization and UNICEF.
My God!
Hello? Where is everybody?
Bayo! Everybody is watching DSTV for up to 31% less. Subscribe or get an upgrade to DSTV Premium now for 219K. DSTV Compact Plus for 129K. DSTV Compact for 79K. And DSTV Family for only 49K. Enjoy world-class entertainment on DSTV Kubeyo. Let your pockets also smile cool. Terms and conditions apply.
chocolate-flavored vodka. Celebrate the taste. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under 18. Please drink responsibly.
Pilsner Lager, the King's Beer, presents Uganda's roots reggae star Maddox Simanda Simatimba. Live in concert on the 4th October 2019 at Sheraton Gardens, Kampala. Entrance is 30,000 shillings, VIP 50,000 shillings, and 1 million for a table. 6th October, Freedom City at 20,000 shillings. 12th October, Trans Africa Ginger at 10,000 shillings. For reservations, call 0773 271 720. Maddox the Legend live in concert is sponsored by Sheraton Kampala Hotel, Sprout Africa, Silk Events, Ships, Capital FM,
Pilsner Lager. Hear the lion roar. Alcohol is not for sale to persons under the age of 18. Please drink responsibly.
and
NTV, turning on your world.
A charming destination full of hidden and overt beauty in every sense. The breathtaking sceneries of the Pearl of Africa will make you overly jealous. Tour Uganda. Explore, adventure. Enjoy this spectacle with us. On the next episode is brought to you by Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
Picked up a Pakistani military jeep on my tail.
Open the gate. We got you, Schaefer. Find the prize.
God is going to bring the United States to its knees. Henry, I'm out of rabbits.
Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
To the press box. I'm telling you, as the viewer, you sometimes are really unlucky not to be here on set, because the discussions we have during the break are probably more heated than some of the discussions we have when we are on set. Let me welcome you back from that break with this message, and I want to bring in Mwangusha first after this. I have a message from a good friend of mine called Albert Ahabwe, and he says, my question to FIFA and the UPL, since you say you are punishing Proline as a deterrent measure, who holds you accountable for taking their player and only informing them after the fact? Aren't you flaunting your own rules? Double standards?
No, I've made myself clear that when we fail to request a player within time, it is now we rely on the mercy of the club. The club has the right not to release that player if they can prove that we didn't release in time. The only challenge they find that players, if you refuse a player to go and represent the country, it will be a challenge. But we always try to ask for players in time. Okay. Except in emergency cases, for like that one of the players was supposed to travel, couldn't make it because of the document issues, then that was brought in.
Okay. Mongusha, you had something to...
Maybe just to add on that, given Proline's explanation of why they did what they did, couldn't you understand that you let them down by communicating late, and you also factor it in your actions to them?
I want to assure you, when it comes to enforcing the rules, the rules were made, passed by executive, and even approved maybe to the extent of General Assembly. By the way, those rules are also sent to FIFA for approval. You can't implement them before that. That's why I strongly disagree with CEO of Proline that the rules maybe are contradicting FIFA rules. FIFA approved those rules before you implement them. Now, once those rules are set, not even anyone in the federation, not even the General Assembly can, unless to go through a process. Like, we can take recommendations from the clubs and then you put it back. But so long as the rule is clear, be it any club, not even the president, not even the CEO can amend the rules without going through the process. It has to be implemented the way they are.
Let me let's try and come to a conclusion of this. And I want to start off with Mr. Bakabulindi here. So there you go. They're saying 6 points, 6 goals, 5 million shillings. You have no option now, it looks. If you stay playing in the Uganda Premier League, you must adhere to what the Federation is saying or UPL is saying. What is Proline's next course of action? Because where I'm standing from, the punishment seems a little harsh this early in the league from a footballing perspective. But where does Proline stand now moving forward?
Of course, Proline, being the law-abiding member that it is, will follow the rules to the letter. And we have already done so. We have put in our appeal. Yeah? And we've given the grounds of why we are appealing the decision of the competition's disciplinary panel. And I have my optimism that they will see reason and they will see this for what it is, really. And they will probably do away with the punishment or come back to us with the modified one. Should that fail, of course there are other through the football system avenues. There are other factors that we can take. Okay. There are other routes that we can take, and we will take them. And that includes, it includes code of arbitration for sport. Of course, that's the final one. Yeah. That's the final one, and if I'm hoping that we don't end there. Yeah. Because I am hoping that the people on the appeals committee know a bit of the law and know a bit of the regulations better, and they will see this for what it really is. In the event that they don't, we'll probably we'll be left with no option but to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Okay. Because we believe this is it is their rule that is making us look bad right now. You know. Okay, I want to go to Joel Kamadi and read 3 or 4 more comments. But when we get back from Joel, I want you to tell me something to do with the spirit of that clause, of that section, of that rule. Yes. Because you're a football man, Mr. Lukambi. You're not just a lawyer. You're a football man, and you know how players are important to clubs. You know, Proline is not the biggest club in Ugandan football. I think by the standard set of the big league and the Uganda Premier League, Proline is one of the small teams in the Uganda Premier League this season because they have just been promoted. How fair is it? I want us to discuss that. Is it just right for football clubs? Sometimes you take a player and the team collapses. You've seen this. The Manchester United fans, I'm sure, are watching. You take a player and the club collapses. Now you've taken 2 and they're saying, guys, you shouldn't have done this and you're standing strong. Joel, what's happening?
It's fire, I tell you. There's so much reaction, so I'm going to just go through as many as I can very quickly. Hoodrich says football has come a long way. We had administration wrangles, so football has to develop on rules and regulations. This will lead to professionalism. Anyone that derails from these rules must be sanctioned. Football governance is very critical. Kasozi Vincent says docking 6 points and a fine of 5 million reflects intrigue towards Proline. Ekwenyi says FUFA should respect international break-in matches. What if the Cranes were to have a match in Uganda? I didn't get that. In Ugandan. Okay, Lawrence Odeke says they gave their view of the best players being on national duty. For fairness, let them just reschedule the match. Let football win, though the competition rules must be followed and adhered to. Lillian Rebecca Ntambi says the punishment given to Proline was really too harsh, and also the legal manager should tell us why Police FC did not appear at the grounds to play on Duparaka and was only docked 3 points and 3 goals. I think you guys went through that. Is Proline very rich of points, goals and money? Very interesting. Cyrus says FUFA decision is flawed in my opinion. If there is any inconsistency between a local legislation and a supreme legislation, the latter takes precedence. Sir Fabian Paves, FUFA is just trying to rekindle an old war with Mujib Kasule. It's like that was a statement of intent to shut him up. But the Mujib I know won't give up until he wins. Unfair ruling. Robert Ayala says Proline invited troubles to themselves. FUFA provided, I think, the best prescription by applying the rules of the game. Clubs need to follow rules and regulations if they want to play in the UPL. Paul Unimanzi says, I still believe the judgment was too harsh on Proline, and I think this is not good for the league. But way back, history, Proline and FUFA have never spoken the same language. It's a battle of egos. You mentioned names, but I won't mention them on air. Tusime Liberty says, FUFA should consider all teams that send in their key players for national duty when organizing local league games. This shouldn't have happened at all. Kasede Jimmy says maybe 3 more. I think we should follow the law because I quote the FUFA lawyer, Mr. Bakabulindi was part of the committee that made the laws. We have an interesting one here from the UPL chairman, Arnaitwe Rugendo, who says, Dear NTV PRESSBOX, behind the legal gymnastics on the battle, in quotes, the question of consistency, predictability for quality league vis-a-vis revenue, sponsor attraction should be very serious, a very serious point of discussion. And finally, talkative Rocker Birwell says, as an SC Villa fan, I just like to put it on record that even with Proline's full team, we were going to beat them. That being said, 6 points, six goals and 5 million shillings is a bit too harsh for anyone. Going forward, lessons are being learnt on both ends, which is good.
There you go. The SC Villa fans are finally standing up and speaking loud now. They're saying, even with Proline, we would still have beaten them. The Villa fans are that confident. But I mean, that's what they are saying. They're currently top of the Uganda Premier League standings. Folks, let's try and close this, please. Let me try and have a final comment from each one of us. Put an end to this. And I'll start with you, Mwangusha. You're the one who's not a professional on set. So let me start with you.
I'm the PRESSBOX legal mind.
You cannot underestimate our power.
One, I commiserated with my friend here, William. Actually, some of the air tickets from FUFA to Kigali, so 4 players are going to pay the 5 million. So, but we will, like you said, the spirit of the game. Honestly, this comes down to that. One, for Proline to get a fair hearing from the appeals, the disadvantage they have is that Villa will say, "Man, we arrived, we were there." So how are we going to? I mean, we followed the rules and we won our points based on the rules. So that's where the appeals committee perhaps will have an issue. But like you said, FIFA are aware of that rule. Now, we'll come back to the spirit of the game. This is my understanding. I don't know the correspondences between them and FIFA and FIFA and FUFA. But FIFA will have demanded or advised that even if you are applying this rule, there should be a fair understanding between you and all the parties involved. In this case, I do not think that was there. So that's where, for me, the spirit of the game comes in.
But he's saying all the clubs know about the rules. It's not alien.
Unfortunately, there are a few people who decide these things for people. But again, like you said, I understand where FIFA are coming from. Because they need the 3 players and they need the league. For example, I know that UPL are struggling with the fixture pile-up. So you would understand where UPL are coming from. Because they fixed just this past weekend. Proline didn't play their game because they were on the continent, same as KCCA. Okay. So you understand both parties. And at the end of the day, Proline could have played under protest, but then the question comes in, do they trust the people even if they played under protest? That if they appealed because they played on protest, something would be done. But the best way would have been for UPL to actually stay their game when they received communication. But like I said, UPL also are struggling with the fixtures. So for me, spirit of the game and the disadvantages, Villa will die on those 3 points.
Finally, just in one sentence, so
yes.
Fair or not fair?
If you follow the rule, it's okay. But I have the problem with selective application of the rule.
I'll give Mr. Bakabulindi the last word since he's the aggrieved one here. So I'll start off with the lawyer here, Mr. Lukambi. The spirit in which the laws are made. Because we've just discussed what basically is happening. But your concluding remarks as well.
Dear viewers, I want to assure you the spirit that legislation was made was to ensure professionalism, transparency and consistency. Gone are the days where clubs refuse to turn up for games and then nothing happens. They just lose the game by forfeiture, 3 goals and 3 points. It is one of the nasty things in football for a club failing to turn up for the game without any justification. We had so many clubs that failed to turn up because of reasons of strike in the load, blockage of loads, death, and then the match is scheduled. As far as we are concerned, Proline did not give any justification. They simply quoted a law, in my humble opinion, which was outdated, which is no longer in existence, as their justification. And that's where the issue is. That's why the committee implement the regulation. Secondly, to conclude, that regulation was not even made by FUFA as it's put up. It is a recommendation from the clubs. They try to make sure that games are played such that the fixture congestion also goes down. Clubs sitting for a full month without playing football, it's not good for their performance and for them of players. However, there's a procedure. Proline has appealed, and we also respect our appeals committee. It's not part of FUFA. They are independent lawyers who we believe have experience in football. They can choose either to, in their opinion, whether the punishment was harsh, but that punishment only challenge is provided for in the law.
Yeah.
The legislation is very clear. For police, visiting game, 3 points. For a host game, it's 5 points. But in conclusion is that, yes, let us see what the appeals will say, because we are not, FUFA does not manage the appeals committee. Some lawyers in town and then former president of USPA, there are big guys on that committee who can reason and then see. FUFA has no problem with any reason that the appeals comes out.
So these guys who are saying there's a political battle between
no, there's no political battle.
If
anyone knows how we are trying to work with Proline to see, it's a role model club that shows everybody from big league you can even go to the top. It's a role model that the federation chose to use as one of the models to educate other clubs in big league that you can make it. It's not only for the big boys.
Fantastic.
But when regulations, no one, not even the president, can comment and then reduce what is written down. Something written down has to be implemented.
Okay, Mr. Bakabulindi, please, your closing remarks on the issue and what Proline takes this for.
First of all, I don't know if Dennis will agree with me on this. The last time we sat to make rules was like what, 3 years ago? 4? And yeah, but the clubs themselves, are they part of this process? I've asked around, and no club actually had the copy of rules that we just got that had 3 players in it. Most of them had the other one, which had 1 player. But I will not go into that because that will be semantics. I don't know if I should use the word appeal to the powers that be. Is this what we are trying to say? What we are trying to point out is not alien. It is not something that is we just pulled a trick out of a hat. It is something that has happened in Uganda before. It is something that happens everywhere in football. During international dates, leagues stop. It is not alien. We didn't wake up in the morning and come up with that rule. No, it is written somewhere. Now, I request that if there is a rule contrary to that, and it is there, and it is we are furnished with the same rule, we are not even looking for any favor. We shall take the punishment on the chin, and we shall go on with it.
Okay.
Yeah, we are not looking for any favors here. We are just saying that if the rule is there, if the regulation is there, that national leagues can go on in the international set FIFA dates, we will be the first to write and say, guys, we hold our hands up. We were wrong. We shall serve the punishment.
The CEO, Proline, Mr. William Bakabulindi, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and of course, the FUFA legal manager, Mr. Dennis Lukambi. Thank you very much for joining us as well. Of course, we shall have you guys later, in case this boils over, just to have a bigger reaction from you guys. Thank you very much, Mwangusha, as well. All right, guys, the Premier League was on this weekend, but I'm telling you what, we have run out of time because our focus is always local football.